Hi everyone, welcome to our first session of Ask the Agents. This is our new video series that we're hosting online in order to answer all your questions about PR, marketing, comms, and what it kind of looks like in the current climate. So I'm Emily and I'm a Senior Account Executive here at Agent99. And today I will be interviewing our very first agent, who is Sharon Poole, who also happens to be our Managing Director of the agency. So hey Sharon, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Em. This is pretty cool. I'm happy we're getting to do this together.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So last week we actually asked Sharon to put together a little video which we shared with our community online, and we asked you to kind of send in some questions in the kind of comms and marketing realm that you wanted us to answer. And so what we'll be doing today is a really short and sweet segment where we'll endeavour to answer them for you. And so Sharon's here today to provide a little bit of insight into her expertise. So let's get started, Sharon. I'm really excited for these first questions that have come in. So all these questions kind of relate to events and what events look like in the kind of world we're in at the moment. So let's get started. So we've had a first question come through from Tony. Now Tony has asked, what would you suggest for events and experiential marketing that would normally occur from a PR perspective? Is there a 100% digital equivalent?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we've seen a lot of events being affected by COVID, obviously, because they just can't be hosted physically. But I think the answer to this is quite varied in that in the B2B realm, so if you've got services and you're selling onto businesses, it's not new to host events online. Webinars have been around for a really long time, but now all we're doing is just supercharging those. So we're just seeing more and more businesses get on that program and deliver, whether it's consultations or whether it is hosting, educational sessions, whatever it might be. It's a really good time for anyone in that B2B space to step that up and to use this time to really learn and to deliver a lot of their products online. So I think absolutely just take that event that you're going to do, maybe a conference, etc., and start delivering those online. There's some really great learnings and great ways to do that. Secondly, I guess with consumers, it's a lot harder. So if you're going to have a massive event where you wanted people to come and try, let's say it's a new whiskey that you're launching, or a new restaurant. So clearly those things have been really massively impacted. But that doesn't go to say that you can't still take things to market. So I'll give you an example of what we're doing with our whiskey client Westwood, who's got a new varietal. It's a beautiful single malt whiskey from the States, and they're going to be launching a new varietal in the next couple of weeks. So we've invited a whole bunch of influencers and media to come and do and try this new varietal online with their brand ambassador and one of their key spokespeople from the States. So they'll be doing that. They'll be getting a kit. So they'll be able to create an experience at home, and then they'll be able to amplify that through their social channels and through media. So there's certainly ways to do things now. And I think in terms of how you do that, it's a learn as you go, but we've got a lot of learnings and we'd be happy to chat to anyone to give them some ideas on how they can do that.
Yeah, that's great. And so for people that were potentially looking at going and doing their event now online in this format, how do you think that we can measure success of these events when traditionally we as, in PR would rely on guest numbers, relationships formed? How can we kind of measure success if we do something online?
To be honest, it actually hasn't changed. It hasn't changed at all if you think about it, because when you look at an event and how you measure it, it's usually through the number of people that have come, what have they said, where have they placed your key messages, how have they amplified this through social. Well, this hasn't changed at all. So when we have online events, we still market them in the same way. They essentially need to be somewhere at a certain time. So they either show up or they don't. Hopefully they do. And then, we then look at briefing them and what is the best way to get your key message out there. So that's really important to have all of that information to them ahead of time and really build that relationship as you go. So you're sending them reminders, you're letting them know, oh, here is the document, here are all the hashtags, here are all the key messages, this is the website, these are the tasting notes, if it's that whiskey, for example, all the pertinent information, sent to them ahead of time, and you're constantly engaging. And when the event happens, you want to make sure that you've got all your tech sorted out. You want to make sure it's as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it's about that measurement, which is, again, that penetration and that amplification. We do this follow-up in the same way that we would for any physical event, and we engage with media and with influencers to make sure that we deliver the same reach as we would under normal circumstances. So if you think about it, it really hasn't changed that much. Clearly, I think as human beings, we're really, we rely very heavily on having that contact with people. So, it's difficult to continue to cultivate relationships, but it's not impossible. And I think that there's nothing wrong with you jumping on a Zoom call, whether it's an influencer or whether it's a journalist. They're people too, and they want that interaction as well. So that hasn't changed for us at all. So you would measure it pretty much in the same way as you would before, which is reach, engagement, amplification, key messages, all of those, and ultimately whether it's delivering traffic to your website and converting to sales. That would be the usual way to measure things. But clearly there's certain areas where you can't, because you might not have a product that's sold online, etc. So I think it's just looking at all those metrics ahead of time, setting those, having your KPIs, and then just going for it. It's no different.
Yeah, great. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how events do go kind of once things go back to normal. Definitely save a lot of money if everyone does them more online in future.
100%.
Oh dear. But yeah, we might as well move on to our next question, which again is still in the event space, just a little bit different. So this question came in from Amy, and it's really interesting. She said, I'm a speaker and I rely on my live events. I'm not tech savvy, nor do I have a big budget. So how can I jump on the online bandwagon and still be promoting myself virtually?
That's a really great question. We have a lot of speakers that we work with, and when COVID happened, we actually were mid-campaign with 2 speakers who were launching books, and that was just a really challenging time. Both of them relied on doing live speaking gigs around the country and around the world, and so they had to pivot, and we had to help them pivot very quickly in terms of their comm strategy and how they were going to handle this change. And yes, a lot of speakers haven't necessarily prepped for this time, but I can't recommend it more. Even if you feel like you're not super tech savvy, even if you don't have the budget so much, it's actually not that expensive to set yourself up to deliver events online. And so I think that it's a really good time, while events are not live events and still not happening, it's a good time to invest in that and to do some upskilling yourself to future-proof your business, because I think that this is going to change things a lot. I think that, look, we can't avoid live events. They will come back at some point because people need that contact. We're just human beings. And as I mentioned before, we love that contact. We love that interaction. And I think it'll be on steroids once, this is over, because people will want to reconnect again. So that's not going anywhere. However, I think that some companies will say, well, hang on a minute, we got similar results booking a speaker online than, we did when they came and spoke to us. So we may as well look at doing that ongoing and invest more in having these, speaking opportunities coming in online. So I think that the short answer is, I think it's time to get online. I think that you need to do that for your business to thrive. Whether you are resisting it and whether you don't want to do it, now is the time to have a really good go at it. And let's face it, none of us were prepared for all of this. And so we've all been pushed. I mean, this is the first time we're doing something like this. So I think everyone needs to just push themselves out of that comfort zone and understand that we're all feeling our way. So there's no real right or wrong. It's just that it's a learning curve, and it's a really nice time to push yourself further and to have a suite of products available to your audiences. You know, it doesn't take a massive budget to actually market yourself at the moment. You can do things by re-engaging your database. So doing simple EDMs and getting those out to your database and letting them know that you have now got these products available. That's all it takes sometimes, because your supporters from along, you know, from your career will want to support you. And so we found some other speakers are telling us that, you know, all they did was switch over and then got in touch with their sort of top 5, top 10 clients, and they were able to get bookings almost immediately, which has now turned into long-term revenue streams. So I think that it's really important to do that and get comfortable with it, re-engage your database, you know, offering yourself out to media as an expert, particularly at this time where, you know, your content might be really relevant in terms of COVID. So whether it's working from home, whether it's leadership, whether it's, you know, working through challenging times, all of these things are really relevant right now. So offering yourself to media, creating those relationships now, and offering really good points for them to include in their articles is another way, and we can certainly help with that. You know, making sure that you've got a long-term view of where you're taking your business, and you're creating mini marketing plans for the different phases, and being there when things start to really pick up.
Yeah, that's great. And it ties in really nicely to our final question, kind of on the what you can be doing to promote your personal services. So this has been sent in from Grace. And she says that being a small business, I do have limited budget, and I've held off spending during the pandemic as I don't want to lose my visibility with clients. However, I'm keen to start promoting my services again. However, are there any low budget marketing ideas you would recommend to get things started?
Well, certainly webinars. I think webinars are really key. If you're in that B2B space and you're selling services, then I think getting on that webinar bandwagon, it is, to be honest, it is getting crowded, absolutely. But I think it's still a great way to get out and, again, re-engage with your database. So I think certainly webinars are a great, inexpensive way to get marketing and get talking to your audience. I think certainly using your social channels, whether it's LinkedIn, whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, whatever is working for you. It's about creating content that's relevant to now, that's not tone deaf. It really needs to be on point as far as the messaging is concerned, but certainly engaging on a regular basis and offering some value, offering some entertainment at this time is really key. And I think finally, just looking at building relationships with key opinion leaders, whether it's influencers in a consumer space. So if you've got a product that appeals to consumers, then, you know, certainly that's a really good time to engage with influencers and to get the message out to your consumers. Equally, if you're B2B, which it sounds like you are, it's really getting more contact with opinion leaders on LinkedIn and sharing their content and commenting more and getting yourself out there as that thought leader in your space. I think that those are absolutely key at the moment.
Great. Yeah, no, that's really, really good ideas. So yeah, we've pretty much kind of capped it at this week. We're just trying to keep it nice and short so that you, our community, can get the most out of this. But did you have anything else, Sharon, that you wanted to add before we close up today?
No, I think that, you know, these are all questions that we've been asked by our own clients. So it's really, you know, it's certainly relevant questions to ask. But I think ultimately it's, you know, be sensitive to the current environment. That's really, really important in anything that you do from a marketing perspective. Make sure that you are listening to what's happening. You know, is your audience looking at recovery, or are they absolutely over COVID? Can you put a lens on things but entertain them a little bit more? It's just about having that finger on the pulse and making sure that you're responding to that in a timely manner. There's no point point now creating a lot of content about, what's it going to be like working from home, or, there's certain things that we've just missed the boat on. So it's just being really sensitive and finger on the pulse, and things are changing weekly. So we are literally weighing up our marketing plans from one week to the other. And so it's really important to be reading the news headlines and understanding where people are at, seeing your social media and seeing what people are saying, how are they responding to things, and just being really reactive and really sensitive to what's going on. And that's a real key point at the moment to marketing.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for joining me on our Ask the Agents first episode.
My pleasure.
We're excited for future weeks and what kind of we have in store. So please, if you have questions that you would like to submit for the future weeks, there'll be a link in the description of this post which you can submit a question on. But thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing some insights with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. All right.
Great. Thank you.